Today's lesson on life is caring for those with intellectual disabilities. So it's always hard for most of us to take care of ourselves, let alone someone else. But one of the things that I'm hearing a lot when I do speaking engagements in the community is being a caregiver is so hard. It's so difficult. Recently I was doing a seminar with those who care for people with Alzheimer's. And you wouldn't believe the number of people who were crying and the tears that were there because caregiving for someone else is not always easy. Today we're going to explore intellectual disabilities with the goal of educating and encouraging those parents and those caregivers who care for people with intellectual disabilities. Some people live at home and some people live in group homes. Either way, a lot of support is necessary. I'd like you to welcome to the show with me today Ms. Susie Young to share her story of caring for her son who's been diagnosed with an intellectual disability. Please welcome to the show Ms. Susie Young. Susie, welcome to the show again. I'm so glad to have you back with me.
Glad to be here.
You feel good?
Yes.
Great. All right. So, Susie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, again, my name is Susie Young, and I'm originally here from Virginia.
Okay.
The Pittsville area.
Okay.
Further south from the country. And,
me too. I'm a country girl.
I did 20 years in the Navy.
Okay.
Retired in 2013.
Awesome.
And I have a total of 3 children, 2 that currently reside at home right now.
Oh, look.
And I'm basically just pursuing my bachelor's in psychology and hoping to give back to the community.
Okay. And you are giving back. This is one way to give back to the community by educating folks on these topics like this. So again, I want to thank you again for being here because sometimes I know that it's not easy to talk about and it probably hasn't been an easy journey. So before you even share, I want to thank you again for doing that for me. Let me go ahead and define intellectual disability because some people may not know what I'm talking about. There was an old name for it, but I want to give you new information. An intellectual disability is defined as a person having a below average intelligence or significant limitations in both intellectual and adaptive functioning, okay? That's those life skills. Typically before the age of 18, the main symptom is difficulty thinking and understanding, and life skills can be significantly impacted and include conceptual problems, social problems, and practical skills, which we notice. And also I want to note that people can be sort of mild, moderate, severe. Many times we see a lot of people who are more mild and people think, oh, well, they can do anything. And that's where we run into some of the stereotypes that, you know, they should be able to do certain things. But there are different categories for intellectual disabilities. So tell us a little bit about your son and how old he is.
Well, my son is 12 years old.
Okay.
His name is Nathan. And
hi, Nathan.
His intellectual disability falls under a developmental delay.
Okay.
Where it affected his language.
Okay.
And sometimes even his social skills.
Okay.
Along with his thinking and comprehension ability. He really, from a babe, I really didn't know the difference at the time. I was kind of in denial, didn't want anything to be wrong with my child.
Of course.
So I kept putting off certain signs that I would see.
Okay. And as most parents, obviously, you know, when babies come out, you check for those 10 fingers and 10 toes, and if they're smiling at you, or, you know, you want them to be as healthy as possible. And so many times people delay that, you know, and I was talking to a young lady before, a lot of times parents feel guilty. They feel like, you know, well, I should have gotten tested, but, you know, you're a new mom, even if you already have a child, you just want your baby to be healthy. You know, you're not really looking for signs unless someone points it out. So how did you find out there was something else, or what sort of started to happen to make you think something's different, something's not right?
It actually started with when I was in the military. His child care provider had a child that was his intellectual ability was delayed. In addition to being a little ADHD. And she was seeing that he wasn't making eye contact as an infant with her. And she would point it out to him, and I just kind of blew it all. But then I would see the difference when she would point to him and tell him to look at me, look at me. And then as we end up transiting, we were stationed overseas, and he went to Head Start. And one of the teachers also had another child with the same intellectual disability, along with maybe a little ADHD. Sometimes it accompanies.
I was going to say, sometimes there's a combination of disabilities or disorder, and it's, accompanied with something else.
And so she began to notice that he just wouldn't stay on task.
Okay.
Thought he might have had a hearing problem because he would maybe be off daydreaming.
That can happen too.
She calls his name and he's not listening. The other kids then got up and they're preparing to either go to lunch or switch sections in the classroom. And so he actually got tested.
Okay.
So once he got tested, they saw that he couldn't do the simple tasks like take a circle block and put it in and put it in a circle. He's trying to put it in a square.
Okay.
So along that, he needed a lot of extra attention, like pictures, talking to. He just couldn't keep up with the class.
Okay. And it's interesting you say those things because a lot of times children are chastised or punished because a lot of times, they're not tested for audio issues or hearing problems because they figure, they're just being stubborn. They're not listening to you. They're being hard to get along with, difficult. They're not being respectful. When in fact, it's none of that. He won't look at me in my eyes. I asked him to look at me 3 times and he won't look at me. Okay, it may not be that he doesn't want to look at you. Maybe he's having Asperger's symptoms or autism or something else is going on. Well, he doesn't socialize well with the other kids. That's a huge symptom that there may be something wrong, something else that's wrong. You talked about also the developmental delays. I always encourage new parents, and I know no one wants to read the book on parenting. They just want to learn, like putting together the table. They rather just try to put it together than read the manual. But sometimes it's good to read a book so you know what's normal. Okay, what developmental stages your child should be hitting. Not everyone hits stages at the same time, but you should be aware so that you know when there's a significant delay. And so I applaud you on doing that and starting to see the symptoms and coming out of the denial and sort of starting to listen to people along the way, because if not, then maybe he wouldn't have gotten the help that he needed. So and that was early in his life. So what things have you done since then, or have you had to do since then, since you learned that there was a developmental delay?
Well, once the school got involved and they started giving him the extra help that he needed,
okay, good.
His speech was really a problem, enunciating. He couldn't convey his thoughts.
Okay.
And I couldn't understand them. He began to get frustrated. So between now, him being in the 6th grade and being 12 years old, it's still somewhat of a challenge, but he's more cognizant or aware now that he has to take his time to express or try to understand.
Okay.
So just giving him, actually it's the school that did most of the work, because just like me as a parent or even the teachers, it's very stressful. It's like, why don't you get it? I can give you a simple task and I'm telling you to get a soda out the refrigerator and you're in the bedroom looking in the bathroom. Something that's simple.
And like you said, we on the previous show we talked about ADHD, and so oftentimes there will be some sort of other symptoms going on, and so there may be some attention deficit where yes, I asked you to go from A to B. How did you end up at D? How did you end up? I didn't even ask you to do that. Now you're outside sitting on the porch, and they got sidetracked by doing something, or there could be a lack of comprehension, not because they don't want to understand, but because it takes a lot of patience.
And most children that I know have that intellectual disability, the parents or that I've met that have children like that, typically children do have a little ADHD or ADHD. And so when they were saying maybe your son has it too, so it's like I was going through the process of going back into denial again. Oh no, he just got developmental
labels on my baby.
Woo! But he did get checked. I did take him to a doctor and get checked out. He was having some behavioral issues where they recommended I could take him to an outside
like a behavioral specialist or something.
Behavioral specialist, but I kind of
and it sounds like a lot of that was out of frustration as well, because I think one of the things you said to me, when you see your son, he looks like a normal 6th grader child. And so I think what happens sometimes when people have mild delays or mild intellectual disabilities, and sometimes with children in general, I think parents and people overestimate their abilities sometimes. And so sometimes with children or people with intellectual disabilities, what they can actually do is overestimate it. So it assumes you look like me, so you should be able to do what I do. If I tell you to do something, I don't understand. No. And I hear parents all the time say, no, he doesn't have a problem. He just doesn't listen. or there's nothing wrong with him. He just needs to boom, 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 boom. And on the earlier episode, we was talking about ADHD. You know, some people will blame the parent. You just spoil them. You don't do enough discipline. There's not enough structure in the home. And I want to get people out of that mindset of stereotyping that it must be something else. You know, we got to look at all of the options out there, what might be going on with this child. Is there anything else that you'd like to add as far as resources that we can give to parents or caregivers of those taking care of children or adults with intellectual disabilities or developmental delays?
Well, I would say if they have concerns that they should actually, if the child is at school age, they should definitely talk to either the principal, the school psychologist, or the special ed teacher. And then from there, they can do an assessment. If they're younger than that, they recommend that the child goes to the doctor and get an assessment that way.
So the school did the IEP, they did the whole meeting of the minds, I call it, of the teacher, the principal, the school psychologist, making sure that that person has the support that they need.
Yes.
Because support is really important. And I want to encourage you too, as a parent and the parents that are looking, support for yourself is also important. So make sure that you take care of yourself because like I said earlier in the intro, when you're taking care of a person with intellectual disability or any type of disability, you need to make sure that you get support because they need a lot of support from different areas, the emotional, the social, all of those things, you know, academic, and you need the same support. Different things in your life, friends, outings, okay? So take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you, Susie Young, for being on the show.
Thank you.
You did a great job. We'll be right back with It's Life Changing. I want to start off by asking, one of the things that Susie and I were talking about in between the segments is how she found the strength to move on. And so I want to incorporate that into the Speaking to Your Life segment. And she mentioned her church family, being able to go to church, finding the strength in support of others so that she could be feel supported and so that she can get through, so that she can have enough energy to go back home and do it all again. And so I want to encourage all of you to maybe get connected with different support groups, but definitely, you know, include your spirituality, get involved in your church, let other people sort of help you, which that takes me right into my 2 tips that I have for you today. And one, you know, I'm calling this sort of care for the caregiver because, you know, I like to make it broad. I don't want to be too specific because I know that people are dealing with a lot of things. And so this segment is not only for those who have children or adult children who are dealing with intellectual disabilities or disabilities in general, but all people who are out there caring for other people, whether you be a nurse, a family member, whatever's going through. Like I said, I've been to several support groups and I see people struggling. People literally cry on my shoulder. People are telling me how hard it is because they can't take care of themselves. So the first thing I need you to do is to understand that caregiving isn't easy. You need to remove the guilt. You need to remove the sort of stigma that you have to do everything all by yourself. You do not have to do everything by yourself. You need to learn how to take care of yourself and learn how to be healthy too. Sometimes I know it gets hard, especially for parents and for spouses, because maybe your child is not doing the things that your other children do, or they can't do what other children in school do. So sometimes it gets a little depressing, a little sad for you. Don't feel guilty because you feel that way. I'm going to give you some tips about that in a second. If you are a spouse and you're grieving that your spouse can't do what they used to do, maybe they can't speak, maybe they had a stroke, or maybe something happened where now you're the primary caregiver. They can't do the things they used to do. I want to encourage you that you can make it through this. Caregiving, again, is not easy. And so you have to make sure that you understand. You don't have to keep going like everything's normal, knowing inside is tearing you to pieces. You got to find a way to live your life. So the second piece of information that I want to give you is self-care. Self-care is super important. Just taking care of yourself. Making sure that you invite other people in to help you. Ask for help, okay? Yes. Or I should say no, other people can't do it like you do it. No one can take care of your mother like you. No one can take care of your baby like you. Maybe you don't want to leave your child with someone else. But there are companies, there are people that actually do what we call respite care. Well, they'll come in at certain times or on the weekends just to give you a break, okay? There are now places where people can go during the day. I forget what they're called, but sort of like daycare for adults, where you can get a break. make sure that you invite others in to help you. If you have other family members or people that you can call on, just to get 2 hours, okay? And don't feel guilty during those 2 hours. Go to Hardee's and hang out. Go to McDonald's. Go to the park. Go to the beach and just sit and relax and rest. Go get a massage. Go get a bite to eat. Go out with some friends and make sure you laugh and live your life, okay? Without the guilt. I want you to hear me on that, because many times caregivers feel so guilty about trying to live their life or trying to still sort of feel alive. And it's important that you do that. Otherwise, you too will be drained and you will be no help to anyone else. So please understand caregiving, do your research, get support groups and get resources out there, but also love yourself enough to take care of yourself. Okay? And I applaud you for doing this work. Thank you so much for watching. It's life changing. We'll be right back. It's now time for our community resources. I'm so excited to welcome to the show Ms. Clarissa Strawn. She is with Enroll Virginia, and she's going to share some great healthcare information with us today. Welcome to the show, Ms. Clarissa Strawn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I want you to feel comfortable, and I want you to share a little bit about sort of Enroll Virginia. What is that?
We are a grassroots nonprofit organization.
Okay.
We're throughout the entire state of Virginia,
okay,
and we assist people with questions about the Affordable Care Act and the health insurance marketplace.
Okay.
We have assisters that do one-on-one in-person assistance to help people navigate the marketplace,
yes,
and apply for health insurance.
Because it can be confusing.
Yes,
okay.
It can.
I've heard a lot of people.
Yes.
So I'm glad you're here to help us understand a little bit.
Thank you. We also have SHEPs, which are our marketing team that will go out and do education, okay, and workshops
awesome,
for consumers.
Okay.
And then we team up and we sort of do a tag team where, okay, we can do workshops to just do general education and one-on-ones, a combination.
Beautiful. Do you go to some of the like workplaces or places of employment, as well as like, I guess, different speaking engagements to speak to the public?
We do.
Okay.
We go to churches, we go to businesses, nice, as you, okay, mentioned. We go wherever we can get into.
That's wonderful.
People will have us.
So if people are looking for more information, this is a great resource for you, whether you're a part of a church or organization, or a nonprofit organization yourself where you're trying to help people. Perhaps this would be great to have someone come out and sort of have a little seminar to help educate people. So I'm thinking ahead, seeing how this can really sort of help people, because people have questions, and sometimes they want a person in front of them to answer some of those questions.
Yes.
So what are some of the other initiatives that you're working on right now? I understand there's a 3M.
Yes, a 3M plus. Thank you. We are working with our partners in the Department of Social Services, okay, as well as VICAP, the people who work with our seniors, okay, to do a Medicare, Medicaid, and the marketplace and other programs, okay, events. We have scheduled one in Smithfield, okay, for August 29th. Okay. And we also have one scheduled in Franklin, okay, on July 25th.
Okay, so Franklin, July 25th, and then August 29th in Smithfield. Okay.
Yes. And they're going to be from 9 to 11. The Smithfield event is going to be at the Paul D. Camp Community College. Nice. And the one in Franklin is going to be at the Department of Social Services office. Okay. So we'll be circulating flyers and we'll be on the radio. Good. But it'll be an opportunity for us to work with our partners to educate people about, all of those programs. That's in awesome. One event.
Awesome. So I hope you're getting that, and I may invite you to come by, also do radio. So we will definitely get the word out so that people can go and get more information. What are maybe one or two questions, or a big question maybe that people ask? I know that people ask you a lot of questions about the marketplace, but what's one of those big questions that people ask, and what's your answer?
Why can't I get insurance, or how do I get insured? And that question, that's a big question. And One of the main answer is it depends. It depends on what your income is. It often depends on a couple of things, your age, your area, but often your income is a determining factor. The federal poverty level is the main criteria they use to determine your income. And unfortunately, one of my experiences that I found during doing this work, especially during open enrollment, is that a lot of people fall into what we call the gap, where they don't make quite enough to qualify for the marketplace discounts to get those low premiums, and therefore they can't afford the $300 premiums that on the marketplace. So that has been a really big obstacle, and then they make too much for Medicaid, so that's how they end up falling into that gap. So and that's where the governor and the current administration in Virginia has come up with a wonderful program called the Governor's Access Plan. Now this is not regular insurance, but it is the Governor's Access Plan provides mental health services and substance abuse counseling for those who fall below 65% of the federal poverty level. And so if you qualify, you can get a number of services, including some medical services, for a number of different treatment options. Go ahead.
And this is the governor's...
It's the Governor's Access Plan.
Access Plan. And how do people get more information about this plan? Like, do they go through the marketplace, or where do they go?
Actually, they can go through Cover VA, which is Cover Virginia, and I can give you the phone number after the show. And they can do that online, or they can call the Cover Virginia. But it's and they can that's one part of the enrollment process, and then they'll need to go through their local community services board or another health clinic to do these mental health screening process to qualify for that. So because that's something separate than from the marketplace. That is separate from the marketplace. I just want to understand. Yes. So anything else that you feel like we want to sort of, or another big question that maybe comes up, or something else that you want people to know about Enroll Virginia and why it's so important? Enroll Virginia also, we provide, as I said, a lot of information, not just about the marketplace, but we try to educate people about other programs that might be out there to help people who fall through that crack, such as the VCU program, which is out in Richmond. And again, this is another program for people who might fall in through that gap. And for anyone who doesn't mind taking the drive, you might be able to get medical services through Virginia Commonwealth University if you have any serious medical problems where you don't have insurance, or they have a coordinated care program, which may provide you some financial assistance. Oh, that's nice. Financial assistance. Yes. To get medical care. Nice. And what they'll do, if you qualify, you can call their 1-800 number, because they have a call center. And they will get you worked up and see if you qualify. And then if you do, you can work with their primary care physician, and they will connect you with a specialist as needed. And if people want more information, because you've done an awesome job today giving information, but if they want more information from you, how can they contact you? My number is 434-316-4197. One more time for me. 434-316-4197. Awesome job, Ms. Clarissa Strawn from Enroll Virginia. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And again, thank you all for watching. It's Life Changing. Bless you, and I'll see you next time when we'll actually be talking about post-traumatic growth and spirituality. Bye-bye.